Hello, I'm Lauren Hubele. Welcome to Shamanism, Metaphysics, and Grace. I welcome Jyoti Wind back as our regular interviewee. Jyoti, I'm so happy to have you back I am each week and looking forward to our discussion. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah. Would you open up this sacred space for us?
Sure. Grandmothers and grandfathers of the East, we call to you this morning. We ask for your insights, that spark of the new idea, the new round. Grandmothers and grandfathers of the South, we call to you. We ask you to be with us this morning. Place our feet on the path that is right for us. Grandmothers and grandfathers, healing spirits of the West, we call to you. We ask you to be with us this morning. Bring us the realizations, the healing, the experiences that we are ready for. Grandmothers and grandfathers of the North, wisdom keepers of the North, we ask for your bounty of wisdom. We thank you for being with us this morning. Grandfather Sky, keeper of the starry night, we ask for your protection in all that we do. Grandmother Earth, you whose cells we occupy, thank you for the life that you give us. And to that wisdom keeper in our own hearts, may that wisdom be available to us. So I have something small to share this morning. It's called personal work. When we become adults, all the childhood wounds become ours to heal. There is no one to do it for us, nor no one to save us from it. And when we step up, our lives, our relationships, our view of the world, and our place in it changes. We are not searching for that lost experience. We are giving it to ourselves. All the love and acceptance once beyond our grasp is suddenly the air we breathe. We all must do our own personal work.
Jyoti, thank you. What a beautiful way to open this time together. I don't want to set you up, but I feel like this is going to be quite a profound discussion. Just the topic of attitudes and beliefs, that's a beautiful and deep, deep well.
It is, because we are so much more powerful than we realize, I believe. And that living on this planet, the earth has her own magic, her own way. And as we become more conscious, as we become more awake and aware, we see the things we need to heal in ourselves, our old woundings, beliefs. But the magic of it is, in a sense, is that we can create and call to ourselves those situations that will help us work with our attitudes and beliefs. You know, it's almost like creating it out of the ethers of the air we breathe. We draw to ourselves like magnets those very situations that will help us heal attitudes that we have. I mean, as human beings, we all develop attitudes about things. We all have beliefs about how life is or how it should be or our own expectations. We get in our own way. And so I believe that life here is an exploration into healing, seeing and healing our beliefs and the things that limit us.
So I think in the previous weeks, you have led up to this moment of sharing ways we can see the different ways we can develop our awareness and then begin to see these things.
And I think we have to want it.
Mm,
You know, we have to want it. And sometimes it's scary. Sometimes facing ourselves, facing things in the world which are mirrors or reflections of ourselves to begin with. I think we have to call on our courage, or at the very least, our futility and frustration with the way things have been and wanting something else, wanting a different level or kind of experience. Just out of that sheer frustration, we wind up calling experiences to us, you
mm,
know, and so there's and then we get to face ourselves, then we get to see the things that maybe we no longer want to keep doing, or that we see where we can open ourselves to this next level of awareness or of being with ourselves and appreciating what life has given us and what it still offers us.
yeah. There was something you said in the opening poem about not seeking but giving it to ourselves that struck me as very profound and connected to what you're sharing here.
I think that we have missing experiences in childhood a lot of the time. And so, as an adult, taking responsibility for healing, our own healing, and um, owning our own power, coming to that place, I think that we take responsibility for giving ourselves those missing experiences, you know, where we didn't get certain kinds of situations in our childhood. Our parents couldn't give us those experiences. So sometimes woundings, disappointments, despair, you know, come out of those kinds of things. And so it's up to us. I mean, it's many layered. I mean, in a sense, if we choose our birth time and we choose our parents to come in with as a deeper level of personal responsibility, then we chose those very people to parent us in the only way they knew how, leaving us open to heal what we brought in with us. And the wounding in childhood sometimes is that reminder, and then as adults, we get to our own work,
Mm,
which is giving ourselves those missing experiences, healing the wounds of childhood that we chose on a soul level, not a personality level necessarily, but we chose on a soul level so that we could utilize what this life would offer us to heal something on a soul level or to have an experience on a soul level
mm.
in this life.
So, how do you believe those healings impact our attitudes and beliefs?
They change us. They give us opportunities to drop those old attitudes and drop those old beliefs and be willing to and open to see something else.
Be willing to be open to see something else. That's a big place to move into.
It is, and it can be small. You can bite size it. You know, there might be. something that comes up for you, a situation that comes up for you, and you all of a sudden see, like we talked last week about the mirror. All of a sudden you see something being mirrored to you, and you can have a knee-jerk reaction, or you can try to breathe into that space so that you're responding with conscious awareness, and not reacting to um, a mode of response, let's say, that really gets in your way, that you'd like to be more consciously choosing rather than just knee-jerk reacting to. And so that alone, just the desire to get in there and change that behavior, opens up other possibilities of how you see yourself, how you respond to what's happening outside of you, and your beliefs in what's possible. I mean, and it even can change an attitude that made that reaction there in the first place. And so as you see and possibly work on and consciously choose your response, you're changing something. You're changing something fundamental in you. You're changing the way you navigate your life and navigate the world. You're changing what you as a magnet are drawing to you, perhaps different kinds of people, different kinds of life situations. So if you peer back at yourself maybe a year later, you think to yourself, wow, I've really changed.
Yeah. Jyoti, is there a moment from your lifetime where you were able to look back and see that you've changed in a particular way?
Yes, one instance was I was in the Hakomi mindfulness-based psychotherapy training, and I was learning about my own empowerment and speaking for myself instead of engaging with someone who is blaming or trying to tell me who I was, and then it becomes an argument or defensiveness and a no-go situation. And I remember the first time I was able to actually just take a breath, and I had a moment where, from an I message point of view, I could speak and I could say, well, this is how I'm feeling, or this is what I'd like to see happen. And it was actually with one of my kids.
Mhm.
And that was huge for me. Instead of engaging in this defensive play where nothing real is going to happen, everybody gets defensive and shuts down, and it's just a blame game. I was able to step in and say, well, actually, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I'd like to see happen. And allowing the other person, allowing myself to have my own feelings, and seeing what they were and feeling what they were, and allowing the other person to have their feelings too. It was a game changer for me. It was huge. I mean, I knew this intellectually as a way of being would be that this way of being would be beneficial to me, but I never could get in there quick enough
Yeah.
to change the reaction. And so I did. And little by little, it became more accessible to me in different situations with different people. And it just became more of a way of life, and it changed me,
Mhm.
because it's like allowing somebody else to have their own feelings without feeling like you have to change them, you have to change their feelings, you have to argue for yourself, you have to push back, because you go away from yourself when you do that. but staying with yourself and speaking for yourself, and letting the other person just have their feelings like you're allowing yourself to have yours, the truth of who you are and where you are in that moment.
I love the way that you described you're navigating it because it really is a navigation. And we have those habitual patterns that, particularly with the people we love and are closest to, right?
Yes.
I don't know why that's true.
Well, because they see us and
Yeah.
they see the buttons that are, they're glaringly obvious, to the other person, and the buttons to push. Uh, Not necessarily to get a reaction, but it's just, it becomes almost like a symbiosis, a symbiotic relationship. And when one person steps back and says, I'm not going to do that anymore, I'm not going to play that game, it changes the whole, everything that's on the table.
Well, I mean, that's speaking right out of the family constellation work, right? And it's a quantum change because you make that one change and the ripple effects can go
Yes.
on. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, you become the stone in the pond, and then that ripple out effect affects everyone around you.
Yeah, and what that takes is stepping back and seeing an attitude or belief, seeing that you can be sovereign in your own belief, and so can they.
And so can they. You give them, by your stepping into your own sovereignty and your own sense of truth of who you are, you create the situation energetically for them to do the same, for anyone else to do the same. So, and then it's up to them.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. But after you felt that monumental first pivot there, was it easier to do that again and again?
It became easier and easier the more I did it. Um, and it just became a response to that kind of a situation, but it also became who I became.
Hmm. Someone that can hold space for others' opinions.
Yeah, yeah, sometimes,
Yeah.
not all the time.
Oh, thanks for your humility. I think that's important. Sure.
Sure. I mean, nobody's perfect here. I mean, you can look around. This is not the plane of perfection. This is the plane, to me, the way I phrase it is give it your best shot and move on.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing's perfect here. The earth plane is not about perfection. And
Yeah.
so sometimes you get caught. Sometimes you catch yourself. Sometimes you just forget,
Yeah.
hey, I can do this differently.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard in a conversation earlier today this phrase that sounds like it could have come out of your mouth. And so, and it was that we always have to look at the story beneath the story of our own attitudes and beliefs. Like, how did we
Yeah.
get there?
Yeah. How did we get here and what no longer is true? Maybe was true then at 3 or 7 or 9 years old, but that same threat or that same impingement on our own sovereignty, on our own sense of self, maybe that's no longer there. And that behavior, that knee jerk response, is no longer fitting for the choices we make now, the decisions we make now. It doesn't have to inform us anymore
Mm,
because the situations are different. We're no longer a child at the mercy of, the people around us. We are sovereign beings. We are remembering who we really are, coming here to have a human life and human experience. And those beliefs that we formed, those attitudes that we formed, don't need to inform the choices we're making at this point in our life anymore. We can let them go.
It sounds very liberating.
Very,
Yeah.
very liberating because I part of my mind is kind of thinking about astrological aspects that kind of push that envelope, especially eclipses. And we just had one last week, and we'll have one in about a week and a half, another one. But it's that's what I usually will say to someone who has an eclipse near something in their chart, that it's time to let go of those old concepts and beliefs, to re-examine their core beliefs and see what no longer fits for them, so that those old beliefs are not informing the choices of where they are now, sometimes 20, 30, 50 years later. They're not appropriate because that was to survive our childhood, and now we're making choices for our own adult responsible self,
Yeah.
and they don't need to be on the table anymore. It's like a snake shedding its skin. You're shedding your past, the stories you tell, your identities, and you're stepping into other aspects of yourself that know life. A child doesn't know how to get on a bus and do banking and buy groceries and then make it home, but your adult self knows how to navigate the world. And so having that childhood belief still running the show, and your adult self trying to navigate what's coming next, there's a discrepancy there, I guess, or a disconnect.
Yeah.
And so it's like updating the files, letting go of the childhood beliefs and reactions, and coming more into the solidity of your own sovereignty.
Yeah. It sounds like an alignment with and this reminds me of a conversation we had in another interview about revisiting our files and saying, does that really make sense to me with who I am today?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So, Jyoti, am I to understand that the reverse could be true about these eclipse periods? Is, yes, they bring, these things come up, but if we notice and we're not astrologically savvy, we notice a lot of this coming up for ourselves, we may discover that it is actually an eclipse season that has an effect on us.
It could be, or it could be just, your own soul timing,
Mhm.
that it's just time, in your life to re-examine some of your beliefs about who you've been, where you've been, and what enabled you to survive, but enabled you also to develop certain core beliefs that you've taken with you, that you may have even come in with to heal, and childhood reinforced them. And now it's time to look at some of them and take them apart and see what really doesn't work. So, as an example, I use sometimes when that comes up is that, let's say we have a belief system that says nobody's ever there when I really need them, and so I'll do it all myself. That's, there's like 60,000 or more core beliefs. That's one I use. And so you could have 10 people standing by your right shoulder, but they don't know what you need. You have to ask them and engage with them, which your belief system has blinders for you that says nobody's really there when I need them. So you're not aware there of the people who would help you. So, in working with that core belief, you would experiment and you would turn to the person A, let's say, and say, "Hey, I need help with a project. Can you help me?" And they go, "I'm at the airport. I'm leaving town for a month. I'm so sorry." So you stretch a little bit and you call person B. And person B says, "My whole family just walked in from out of town. I would help you, but I can't." And meanwhile, your nervous system is kind of, freaking
Where
out a
we
little
are.
bit, starting
Yeah.
to get a little activated. So you stretch and you call person number 3 or C, and you ask them and they go, "Oh, I'll be right over."
Yeah.
So to me, the way I explain it is that we have these tape loops in our nervous system that just loop around, reinforce our beliefs. When you call person C or number 3, it's like you're leaping the synapse in your nervous system, and anything's possible after that. You've opened it wide open. You've cut that tape loop. You so in looking at our core beliefs, because it's really time for a lot of people to do that, to see what's running the show and to make it more conscious. And in that, we get choice. So we're examining core beliefs, we're making other choices, and that opens up many, many different possibilities.
You said that it's time for many. Is there a reason that it's time for many?
Well, we could chalk it up to Pluto moving into Aquarius and giving us a taste of a new dispensation, not the Aquarian age, but a new dispensation, let's say. So we're getting this taste from March to June right now. Um, and it'll come back again next year. But aside from the astrology, it's just in our evolution and where we're going. It's just the timing of things, and more people are looking at situations. I mean, younger and younger. I'm surprised sometimes. Who no longer want to keep repeating the same patterns and are looking for a different way of being with themselves and with other people, and looking at the possibilities of what their life can be instead of just reiterating all the old stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. This has been really rich, Jyoti. Is there anything else you feel that you'd like to share about this topic?
um no, I don't think so. I wanted to close with something.
Okay.
Okay. So just taking a nice deep breath and letting go of the day or the evening. And I just wanted to close with this kind of prayer. May we walk kindly on the earth. May we realize we are where earth and spirit meet. May we embody love when we can.
Thank you, Jyoti.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah. And if our listeners would like to reach out to you, Jyoti, where might they find your work?
My website is jyotywindastrology.com. And I have a free YouTube channel under my name that has classes and meditations and things on there.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren.